So Minnesota just bolted a 20.7 assist lead guard onto a team that already won 49 games. And now the question basically writes itself. By the numbers, not the hype, what does next season actually look like for these Timberwolves? Let's run the math and predict it, metric by metric. Here's the method. Instead of vibes, we compare last season's real numbers to a projection, metric by metric. So we'll walk the record, the scoring, the points allowed, the assists, and all the advanced ratings. Then we'll stack every lane together into one honest forecast you can actually argue with. This game is culture. Hit subscribe so the next prediction lands on your feed. First, let's break down the move itself, because every projection downstream depends entirely on exactly who came in and who walked out the door. So LaMelo Ball arrived as the headline addition, and to bring him in, they gave up real front court size and interior defense. That is the core of the deal. In other words, more shot creation walks in the front door, while size and rim protection walk out the back. And here's the centerpiece. LaMelo Ball put up 20.1 points, 4.8 rebounds, and 7.1 assists. Plus, he fires over 10 threes a game on solid efficiency, so make no mistake, this is a primary creator and a genuine offensive hub, not a complimentary piece you tuck into the corner. Next, last season, the baseline. You can't predict the future without nailing down where this team really stood. So last year, they went 49-33, locking in the 6th seed out west. They scored 118 points a game and allowed just 114.6. Plus, they dished 26.1 assists a night. In short, a balanced, defense-leaning team that won with discipline more than dazzle. And here's where they ranked across the league. Their defense sat 8th, their 3-point percentage was 6th in the entire NBA, and their offense came in at 12th. So the identity was crystal clear: shoot it well, guard it hard, and score just enough to win the close ones. Now, the metrics we'll actually use to compare the seasons, because a fair prediction needs a fair framework. So we'll judge this trade across 10 different lanes: record, points scored, points allowed, assists, offensive rating, defensive rating, net rating, pace, 3-point rates, and true shooting. Each one tells us a separate piece of the story, and together they keep us honest instead of cherry-picking the flattering stats. First prediction, wins, the number everyone actually cares about when the dust settles in April. So last season was 49-33. My projection is roughly 51-31. It's a modest bump because the talent clearly rose. But the West is brutal and the defense takes a real hit. My honest range here sits anywhere from 48 to 54 wins, depending on health and fit. And on my confidence meter, I'd call this a medium lean. The ceiling here is high, but the floor is genuinely shaky, so I'm not betting the house on the exact win total landing at 51. But the direction, slightly upward, is where my read settles. Next prediction, scoring. Because LaMelo doesn't just pass, he hunts buckets, and lots of them. So they scored 118 a game last year. My projection bumps that up to about 121.5. The drivers are simple enough: more shot creation off the bounce, more easy buckets in transition, and a pace that should tick up with a true ball mover running the controls. Next prediction, assists, and this is where the upgrade is most obvious on paper. So last season, they averaged 26.1 assists as a team. My projection pushes that toward 28.5. The reason is the upgrade at lead guard. You are swapping in LaMelo and his 7.1 assists a night, and that difference ripples through every single possession. And look at it head-to-head at the position. The lead guard spot produced under 3 assists a night last season. LaMelo hands out 7.1, so that is more than double the passing punch coming from the exact same lineup slot. That alone reshapes how the whole offense flows and gets everybody easier looks. Now the cost, points allowed in defense, because nothing in basketball is free, and this trade has a clear price tag.
So they allowed 114.6 last year. My projection has that climbing up to about 117.5. And remember, on this side of the ledger, up is bad. You lose rim protection and front court depth, and LaMelo is a clear defensive downgrade from what they had out there.
And the defensive rating tells the exact same story. Last season, they sat 8th in the league at 113.5. My projection slips them toward 116, roughly mid-pack, somewhere around 15th or 16th. So this right here is the real trade-off you are accepting in the deal. Next prediction, shooting and pace. Because more LaMelo means a whole lot more threes flying. So they took 37.2 threes a game last year, with the 6th best accuracy in the league. My projection bumps the volume to about 39.5, since LaMelo alone fires over 10 of them a night, and I'd expect the percentage to hold roughly steady near 37, which would be excellent at that volume. And on efficiency and tempo, expect a small dip paired with a faster game. The pace should tick up with a push guard running things in the open floor, but true shooting probably slides slightly to around 58.5, since LaMelo's own mark sits a bit below the team's old 59.2. Now the advanced engine room, offensive rating and net rating. This is where we find out if the whole thing was worth it. So their offensive rating was 116.8, which ranked 12th in the league. My projection lifts that to roughly 120. That would push them squarely into top 8 offense territory. It's a real meaningful jump, driven almost entirely by the new shot creation LaMelo brings every night. And here's the single bottom line number. Net rating was plus 3.3 last season. My projection nudges it up to about plus 4, so the offensive gain slightly outweighs the defensive slip. Slightly. That's the entire bet packed into one figure, and it's why I lean modestly positive overall. So plot offense against defense and the move pops out. Last season they lived in the balanced corner. My projection shoves them right into stronger offense but also down into weaker defense. More punch up top, a lot less resistance on the back end. A different kind of team entirely. Now the big picture. Let's zoom all the way out, set the individual stats aside, and grade the projected outlook as a whole. So my read lands the projected outlook squarely in the high band. Not elite, not just yet, but louder, faster, and far more dangerous in a 7-game playoff series if the fit clicks. The ceiling clearly rose with this trade, but the floor just as clearly got a little shakier. And here's the projected team shape in my read. Creation, passing, and pace all rise noticeably. Spacing climbs a touch with the extra shooting, but rim protection and overall defense both clearly drop. You can literally see the trade-off baked right into the silhouette of this roster. And here's how I'd expect the season to actually unfold. Early on, some choppy fit and turnovers as roles settle. Then by mid-season, the offense hums and the wins pile up. And come spring, the real test arrives, when the defensive slip gets exposed in a playoff series. But where could this whole thing go wrong? 3 big ways. The Edwards and LaMelo fit, plus another high-usage scorer in the mix, could overlap and clog the offense badly. The defense could regress even harder than I projected. And LaMelo availability, just 72 games last year, is never a guarantee. Any one of those could swing it. So that's the full prediction. A slightly better record, a much louder team, a top 8 offense, and a defense that quietly takes the hit. Higher ceiling, shakier floor. By the numbers, this team gets more dangerous, more volatile, and a whole lot harder for the rest of the West to ignore. We are so close to 1,000 subs, so subscribe to stay up to date.